Hi everyone. If you're new to Excel and you have a job interview coming up, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to walk through the top 3 Excel formulas that are required for most jobs. These formulas are used in almost any position that deals with data at any point. I'm going to give you a quick overview and an example of how each formula works. Let's get into it. The if statement takes 3 arguments: logical test, value if true, and value if false. The logical test is a comparison between values. What do I want to compare? Once you've entered what you want to compare, now we can move on to value if true, or what the formula should do if the comparison is true. The last piece is value if false, or what should the formula do if the comparison is false. To quickly illustrate this concept, let's look at a screen example, and then we'll hop into Excel and look at a live example. The syntax for this example would be if C2 equals 1, comma, yes, comma, no. How we would actually think about this would be more like the following. If C2 equals 1, then return a yes, otherwise return no. Let's look at a live example in Excel. In this example, we have a table with customer, sales, and margin information. Additionally, we have a rebate section where we can enter the rebate into the rebate percent cells, and the rebate dollars will automatically calculate. Instead of just entering a percentage in each cell, we would like to be able to dynamically choose a rebate percentage based on a condition. If the customer achieved a sales target of over $1 million, we want to give the account a 5% rebate. If they did not achieve this target, they won't receive a rebate. We'll start the formula with the logical test. Is the sales target, cell F11, greater than $1 million? Next comes the value if true. If the sales target is over $1 million, what would we like to return? We would like to return 5%. Lastly, we enter the value if false. What would we like to return if the sales target is less than or equal to $1 million? We would like to return 0 in this case. Let's finish the parentheses and carry this formula down. Sweet, it worked. Only customer C achieved a sales number greater than $1 million and is the only customer to have a 5% in the rebate section. Let's move on to the Vlookup. The Vlookup takes 4 arguments: lookup value, table array, column index number, and range lookup. The lookup value is the value in common with the lookup table and the main table, or table that you are entering the formula into. The lookup value needs to be identical and included in both the lookup table and the main table for the Vlookup formula to work. The table array is the range of cells in the lookup table where both your lookup value existing in the first column of the table array and your desired value resides. The table array must have both the lookup value and the desired value for the Vlookup to work properly. The column index number is the column number of the desired value in the table array that you defined. Basically, if you broke your table array into columns, what number column is the data that you want to return in? If your table array has 4 columns and the data you want is in column 3, you would enter 3 into this part of the formula. One thing that gets overlooked here is that your table array needs to have the lookup value data in the first position of the table, or the Vlookup formula will not work. The last piece of the formula is the range lookup, which can either be true, 1, or false, 0. True is an approximate match and false is an exact match. In this video, we will only go over false as it is used in 99% of the situations. The approximate match doesn't work as intended in a lot of cases, and we'd rather have an NA returned if the formula doesn't find exactly what we want. Let's look at a quick screen example and then jump into Excel. The syntax for this example would be the C2 for the lookup value, A2 through C10 for the table array, 3 for the column index number, and 0 for the range lookup. How we are interpreting this would be the following. Cell C2 contains data that we have in both our main and lookup table that we are going to use to get other information from our lookup table. Cells A2 through C10 have our lookup value, C2, in the first column, and the data that we want in column C, or 3. And lastly, we want the formula to return exactly what we are asking for and not an approximate, close, somehow correct answer that might not be right. Let's take a look at a live example in Excel. In this example, we have 2 tables, a lookup table and a main table. We see that the lookup table has sales data that we would like to pull into the main table. The Vlookup is the right tool in this case. The formula starts with a lookup value that is common in both tables, customer, or cell H11. The table array is a range of cells in the lookup table that contain both the lookup value and the desired value. In this case, it would be E11 through F13. One very important note to call out here. You must add the dollar signs to both the column and rows in the formula. This is called an absolute reference, and it tells the formula to not change the column or row each time the formula may be copied to another cell. The lookup value, on the other hand, is not absolute, because as we copy it to other cells, we want the lookup value cell to change to the row that we are currently in, making the lookup dynamic. Next, we enter the column index number or column with the table array that we defined that has our desired data. The table array that we defined has two columns. The first column contains the lookup value, and the second column contains the desired data. Therefore, we will return 2 to the formula for column 2. The last piece of the formula is to state whether we want an exact match or an approximate match. Like I mentioned earlier, we want an exact match. The approximate match is used in very rare cases. Cool, let's copy this down and see what happens. We got what we wanted. Let's move on to the index match. Why learn the index match? Isn't it just the same as the VLOOKUP? Yes, mostly. The VLOOKUP can only look up a value from left to right. The lookup value for the VLOOKUP must be in the first position of the table array. This is not the case with the index match. If you didn't know this, the index match is actually two different formulas, the index formula and the match formula. The index formula takes 3 arguments. 2 are required and 1 is optional. Array is required and is similar to the table array from the VLOOKUP, except you only need to give a column of data, and it's the column of data that has your desired result. The row number is also required, and this is where we will use the match formula that I'll describe in a bit, which dynamically gives the index formula the row value. The last argument, column number, is optional. We're going to focus on the required formulas, but I go into the other optional arguments and more examples in this course in the link below. I'll also have a section at the end to show you how to sign up for the course and get a discount. Like I mentioned, to dynamically give the index formula the row number, we need to use the match formula. The match formula takes 3 arguments: lookup value, same as the VLOOKUP, lookup array, the column that contains the lookup value in the lookup table, and match type, which functions similarly to the VLOOKUP's range lookup, except instead of just an exact match and an approximate match, you have an exact match, less than, or greater than. We'll focus on the exact match in this video, but my below course will go through all of that. Click the link in the description below to sign up. Let's jump into a quick screen example to see the different pieces of the index match formula. The syntax for this example would be C2 through C10 for the index's array, a match formula for the row number that has C2 for the lookup value, A2 through A10 for the lookup array, and 0 for the match type. Now, how we interpret the formula would be the following. The index formula wants a column of the data that you'd like to be returned. The match formula then wants the value that's common in both tables to use for the lookup. Next, it wants the column in the lookup table that has the lookup value so it can dynamically return the row number where the lookup value is located. That row number is then passed to the index formula to return the index array's row number of the data that you want. The last part is telling the match formula that you want an exact match, not a less than or greater than match. Let's take a look at a live example in Excel. Just like the VLOOKUP example, in this example we have 2 tables, the lookup table and the main table. We would like to perform the same VLOOKUP that we previously did, but we can't because the lookup table's order is incorrect. We would need the customer or lookup value on the left side to perform the VLOOKUP properly. Let's use the index match here. We'll start with the index array or desired result column, which will be E11 through E13. Like we learned in the VLOOKUP example, we must use the dollar signs on both the rows and columns so that our array doesn't change as we copy it to other cells. Next, we need to dynamically return the row number to the index formula. We will do this with the match formula. The match formula's lookup value will be the customer, H11. The lookup array will be F11 through F13 with absolute references on both the rows and columns. Finally, the match type will be 0 for an exact match. Alright, let's copy this down. Perfect. It worked as expected. This was just a taste of the index match, VLOOKUP, and if formulas. If you want to go deeper into any of these formulas, use the below link for a discount off of my full course. This course goes through in-depth examples of each of the formulas and will cover anything we may have missed in this video. Also, check out my website for free blog posts and courses for Excel, SQL, and Power BI, bigdogsaccelerator.com. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.